Here's my brand new juiced Scrambler. This is the Camp 750 watt rear hub motor with a 52 volt battery. This is pretty much a stock configuration. I added these Odyssey triple traps in red. I added some all mountain style frame protector stickers. I have some all over the rear triangle to help with chain slap, and I have some up here on the down tube to help with the fork hitting the down tube when you steer. And I'm really enjoying this bike. It's a lot of fun. It's the fat tires are really cool. A lot of fun to pedal. A lot of fun to ride. I really wanted to get a Super 73. I really like the way those ones look. They look a lot cooler. However, I opted for something with gears and something with a front fork, just because as cool as the Super 73s work, having a single speed isn't really going to help as much. You're not going to give you enough versatility, as well as not having a fork. This is a Chinese fork. I've seen them on eBay for anywhere from 60 to 90 bucks, depending on which one you get them from, in the fat 20-inch tire spacing. I am looking at getting a full dual crown for these mini fat bikes, which I think would be really cool to have an actual dual crown inverted suspension that you may see on some of the other square retro e-bikes that are coming out on the market. They're popping up all over the place. I went with the juiced just for those reasons. It has more bicycle parts that are easier to replace. So if I want to get some flatter bars, I can get some flatter bars. If I want to get a different stem, I can get a different stem. It's all essentially bicycle compatible. So like I was saying, I do about 10 miles a day to get to work. It's mainly flat, very small inclines. So I'm not really pushing the bike's limits. However, when I come home, it's nighttime and I'm running the battery. And so, for instance, I rode home on a full battery yesterday. Went to work, full battery yesterday, and now I'm barely at half, and barely any volts or at least sitting, the volts are fine. I'm sure as soon as I start pedaling, those volts like to drop like crazy. But I mean, the battery is looking pretty good, and that's on race mode. And so if I really needed to conserve battery, I could go on any of the other settings that they use, and usually anywhere from 3, sport and race, they all seem pretty good. 2 that's when you really start to notice that the motor is very limited as far as your speed goes, and then eco is just, you're almost just riding a bike. One thing to know that some people I've seen don't seem to understand is this rear derailleur is a $20 derailleur. It's a Shimano 20, which is a lot better than having a derailleur that's just labeled Shimano with nothing, or a derailleur that's not even Shimano or SRAM or anything. At least this is actually of a kit. Like this is the Shimano 20. There's the Shimano Avelo. There's the Shimano SLX and XLT and XTR, the widespread gamut. This derailleur is pretty good for 20 bucks. It's a lot better than some of the other derailleurs I've seen. I've worked at department stores as a bike mechanic, and I've used this derailleur a lot, and this cassette is usually found on $150 to $200 BMX, or $100 to $200 kids mountain bikes and adult comfort bikes. You'll see it on those 24-inch mountain bikes. So, let's be real, people. You're buying the motor and you're buying the battery, and you're getting a cool frame. That's kind of how it works. And you're getting the cool tires. But I'm really loving this bike. I'm turning it into like the way I like to think of it is, it's like my kid, the BMX bike I rode as a kid. Now I have kind of a cooler little adult looking one. These are mounts for pegs. They have mounts for a rear rack, which I guess isn't available. They're making it. You can see these mounts. The rear light is battery operated, and the front light is powered by the battery, the actual battery itself. Not too much to say on this bike. There's a few videos out there. Depending on your size and weight, you'll be going 25 miles an hour, over 25 miles an hour in pedal assist race mode, no problem, all day, every day. You'll even be at 27 to 30 depending on your weight and depending on what you're doing. I weigh 240 pounds. I'm 6'3". It's just like riding a BMX bike. That's how it feels to me. You know, I'm not bunny hopping on this thing. All your weight's in the rear wheel, so you know, as soon as you drop off a curb, you know, you got to be careful. You want to make sure you don't bust anything. I've dropped off plenty of curbs, no big deal. Just know what you're getting into. Just know that you have, you know, a 20-pound motor in the rear, and all that weight that pushes into the back of the bike is, you know, pushing into those spokes. But yeah, that's my new bomber. Put a little Mario Kart bomb decal on there on the little race plates, because this is my little red bomber. I went with this bike over a Super 73 and some of the other ones, just mainly because of the price and the motor. You get a much bigger motor and battery from Juice than you do with Super 73, and I'm digging that. It does come with 180 millimeter rear brakes, front and rear, which is pretty good. It's a lot better than having smaller 160s. Something I will be doing is I will be going to a 200 millimeter in the rear. I mean a 203 or 8-inch disc rotor in the front, just because this is a bigger, heavier bike and it does need it. However, I run 8-inch rotors on my enduro mountain bike because I just don't need the big one. They stop pretty good, but because these are lower end hydraulic brakes, I'm gonna put a bigger front rotor on there, and maybe somewhere down the line I'll put even a bigger rear rotor on there, but I'll just go with that for now because it's pretty cheap. And yeah, overall, that's just a quick little view of this juiced bike. I will be getting a bigger front. I'm actually going to get a new crankset, a square taper crankset. This is a 52 tooth, somewhere in there, and once you're in your pedal assist mode, you wind out of the gear a lot faster, and you really have to crank your wheels in order to get it spinning. And so I'm going to put a 56 tooth crankset on there, and then if I don't like it, I'm just going to put the old crankset, rather than deal with just buying a chain ring, because the chain ring is almost as much money as some of these cranksets online. So I found one on Amazon, square taper, pops right off, presses right back on, new chain, be good to go. There's that chain guide, keys for the chain slap. I do have some pegs coming just for the hell of it. I don't really see me ever riding two up, but having pegs is always fun. But yeah, that's my juiced. I'll do another update video once I have more miles on it and see how it holds up.